Good morning, everyone. Happy Blizzard Sunday. My name's Dave Stambaugh from the Essex Congregational Church, and I am here with my good friend,
Jeanette Cooper-Hicks. I'm the pastor at Westbrook Congregational Church.
And this virtual worship service is for you because all of our churches are taking the precautions to not have service today, just to make sure everybody stays home and stays safe and stays warm. So this isn't actually a pulpit swap. I kind of am calling this a pulpit share.
I like it. Good.
We're sharing a pulpit today on National Pizza Day. Congratulations, pizza, you get your day. We're going to start with just a few announcements. I'm going to let Jeanette do some announcements for Westbrook first.
Okay, so obviously Westbrook, we were supposed to have a book club after church on Sunday. Not going to happen. But that same book group is going to meet on Thursday morning at 8:30 at Christie's Restaurant, and we will reschedule the other session. This coming up Sunday, which will be, what is that? The 16th. The 16th will be our interim music director, Christina Burnham's last Sunday with us. So I know you will all share in giving her well wishes and appreciation. And as I shared with you last week, she plans on coming back and worshiping with us when she can, when she's in the area. Also next Sunday, our teens going on the mission trip will be selling the rest of their soup from their soup sale. And the Sunday after that, the 23rd, we're welcoming the Ta family back, my friends from New Jersey, to share music with us. And then on March 2nd, I am really happy to announce we will be welcoming a new music director at Westbrook Congregational Church. Many of you already know Jacqueline Belmonte, but she was going to join us as an interim, decided to apply, and with God's grace, will be our new music director. So we have lots of special, exciting Sundays coming up, and I think that is all I have in announcements. What have you got, Dave?
I just have a couple things. Our annual meeting was supposed to take place today, which it will not do. We will have the annual meeting next week after worship on February 16th. Our chicken pot pie fundraiser is continuing. Make sure you see Jane Haney for that. Friday, February 28th, mark your calendar. We'd love to have you join us for a potluck supper, followed by a jazz concert. You folks from Westbrook are happy to come along and join us if you would like to as well. And then on March 5th, keep your ears peeled for a community Ash Wednesday service. More details for that will be coming out.
Mm-hmm. Which is also for Westbrook. We'll all be doing Ash Wednesday together.
Absolutely. A number of churches from Essex and Westbrook is invited as well. We haven't picked a location yet, so just keep your ears open.
Save the date.
Save the date. That's right, March 5th. Prayer requests. Anything on prayer requests that
prayer
you want us to remember?
Requests at Westbrook are really sort of prayers of joy, not concern. We are just really, really thankful for our music ministry that we've been able to fill our spots with great interim director leadership with Christina, and now we have a new person coming on. And when we welcome new staff, always a time to pray for those folks and continue holding in prayer our lovely church admin, Karen, still recovering from her concussion, but doing well, slowly but surely getting back to work, and continue to pray for so many members that we have in various stages of illness and grief. Definitely want to hold those folks in our prayers.
And continue to keep the whole congregation of Westbrook in your thoughts and prayers as they go through their rebuilding and recovery process from their flood.
Yes, please.
It's been 1 month since the California wildfires. Keep those folks in your prayers. 3 plane crashes in 9 days. Keep those families in your prayers. A number of folks with difficult health conditions lately. A good friend of mine has a daughter in the hospital right now. A good friend also has recently been diagnosed with leukemia. Another person diagnosed with ALS. So just please be sure to keep all your friends and family in your prayers.
And if you're at home worshiping, any names or concerns you want to add to put out there before God, this is your time to do it.
Yeah, just drop them in the comments, and we can use this as a place to pray as well.
Perfect.
Well, listen, last Sunday was my favorite holiday of the year.
I know.
It was Groundhog Day. My favorite movie as well. And we had, Jeanette, I'm going to tell you, the greatest Groundhog Day cake for fellowship time. It was amazing. A Groundhog Day with flowers and greenery on one side and blue snowflakes and ice on the other side.
That's the snowflake.
That's the snowflake. And apparently, I'm not going to say rodents have an innate ability to predict the weather, but Phil was right on track, man. We've had two storms since last Sunday, and there's 2 more coming up. So, and I think there's another holiday coming up this Friday, right?
All right, so Valentine's is coming up on Friday, and we know this because there are boxes of chocolates and heart-shaped things everywhere you go. You can't go into CVS or anywhere without being bombarded, and it's sort of an odd holiday. Its origin story is unique in that it was this pagan holiday, and then there are multiple people named Valentine who are attributed with sainthood. Not really sure which one gets credit for the day, but basically one of them, Valentine, one of the Valentines was credited with marrying Christians in secret when that was not really permitted. And his feast day was February 14th. But it really wasn't the Hallmark holiday that we know it to be until Chaucer, the great author of the Canterbury Tales, somewhere in the late 1300s, wrote this poem called The Parliament of Fowls, or The Conference of the Birds. And in that poem, Chaucer suggested that on the feast day of St. Valentine, February 14th, is when all creation, including the birds, find their soulmate, their person for life. And that is really when this whole idea of this romantic notions being attached to Valentine's Day, to the feast day of St. Valentine, began, even though the Roman Catholic Church took it off the calendar. We're like, this isn't really what we intended in the first place. Hallmark got wind of it, and there we go. And the
rest, as they say, is history, right? Hallmark gets a hold of it. Cards, movies, everything.
Right. But as I already told you, I often take this opportunity to talk about the concept of God's love, and what do we do theologically with Valentine's Day, because we're bombarded with it secularly. And I was sharing with you, Dave, that this Song of Psalms, the Song of Songs is this book in the Bible we rarely preach on, but it's all about God's love, and the actual text is kind of racy. It's really romantic. It's really intimate. And what do we do with it? So
I can tell you what.
I'm going to turn it over to you.
I was going to tell you what I don't do with it. 30 years in ministry, I've never preached on it.
Me neither, except at a wedding. Occasionally it's quoted at a wedding. This is my beloved is yours. Am I getting it?
Yep, no, I've got a little bit.
Right? Oh, good.
I've got a little bit. My beautiful one, arise and come with me. Set me like a seal on your heart. Arise, my love, my lovely one. The winter is past. Ooh, I like that. The winter is past, and the rains are gone. The flowers appear. It's a season of song. My beautiful one, arise and come with me. So it's clear in the literal sense. It's the love of two humans being together, and that kind of human love. But the church has indeed used it as a metaphor for God's love for God's people.
Right.
And I think, that's a great thing to remember on Valentine's Day.
Right.
If you need chocolate or flowers or a card, you also have a place in the Bible to go and read some romantic poetry along with Chaucer.
Right. Exactly.
What I would love to do now is just make a quick jump to our gospel reading.
Okay.
We've got a great gospel reading in the lectionary from the Gospel according to Luke, which is my favorite gospel of all four. That's where you find a number of unique parables and stories. Chapter 15 in Luke is where you find the story of the lost coin and the lost sheep and the lost son. The prodigal son is a great story. What do you like about the Gospel of Luke, and maybe in particular our reading today?
Well, what I love about Luke is the one who writes about the outsiders. The people who maybe don't fit into the mold. Maybe I identify with those people, I don't know. But Luke writes about the women and the lepers and the non-Jews.
The
Samaritans, right. Luke is always writing about the people who are sort of on the sideline of the story.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Luke is also, maybe next to John, the most poetic, and being a languagey kind of person.
Yeah.
Luke appeals to me as a good storyteller.
And this is a great story from...
This is a great story.
There's a great story from Luke chapter 5. We're going to read verses 1 through 11. One day, as Jesus was standing by the lake of Gennesaret, the people were crowding around him and listening to the word of God. He saw at the water's edge 2 boats left there by the fishermen who were washing their nets. He got into one of the boats, the one belonging to Simon, and asked him to put out a little bit from shore.
Then he sat down and taught the people from the boat. When he had finished speaking, he said to Simon, "Put out into deep water and let down the nets for a catch." And Simon answered, "Master, we worked hard all night and haven't caught anything. But because you say so, I will let down the nets."
When they had done so, they caught such a large number of fish that their nets began to break. So they signaled their partners in the other boat to come and help them. And they came and filled both boats so full that they began to sink.
And when Simon Peter saw this, he fell at Jesus' knees and said, "Go away from me, Lord, I am a sinful man." For he and all his companions were astonished at the catch of fish they had taken. And so were James and John, the sons of Zebedee, Simon's partners. Then Jesus said to Simon, "Don't be afraid. From now on, you will fish for people." So they pulled their boats up on shore, left everything, and followed him.
Jeanette, there are so many things
So much in
that
this
we
text.
could, share together or preach from in
Right.
this text. Here are a few of the things that jump out at me. One, they mention the fact that Jesus was teaching and preaching, but nobody took notes.
Nobody cared.
Nobody wrote down what he was saying.
No.
So I
Is that
wonder...
what they do to us?
I wonder what was in that sermon.
I know.
What was Jesus preaching that day? It's a fascinating thing to think about.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing that strikes me is these guys apparently weren't very good fishermen.
Right.
They had been working all night, hadn't caught a thing, and then they push out a little deeper, and Jesus shows them where all the fish are.
Right.
Now, I'm not sure if we talked about this. I don't think we did beforehand, but this idea of into the deep, of pushing out into the deep,
That's
is
the theme.
actually our General Synod theme.
Yeah, this year.
For this year, for General Conference, for the United Church of Christ. And this is the theme for General Synod. They say, we will be exploring opportunities for what it means for us to go into the deep. This holds possibilities for deepening and strengthening relationships and connections with each other, with our ecumenical and global and interfaith partners, and also with God. Jeanette, when you hear this passage and you reflect on that idea of into the deep, what comes to mind for you? What do you think of? What jumps out at you?
Well, for me, it's that when Jesus says to Simon, like, right, we got to go deeper, right? I can't help but think of where I just came from moments ago, the ordination of Grace Winokur, who is now the Reverend Grace Winokur. And Jesus is basically asking them to answer a call. And we know in the United Church of Christ, we're the priesthood of all believers, that all of us has a call. Not all of us is it an ordained call. But this idea that Jesus said to Simon, we have to go deeper in order for you to be able to do this next thing.
To do the job that you do.
Next thing, yeah. Right. And Peter says, well, this doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I actually don't think I'm the guy for the job. I'm sinful, blah, blah, blah. And he says, but all right, if I just do what you tell me, we'll see how it goes. And to me, this passage speaks to particularly my own call story. I kind of kept getting in the way of my own self, right? And when we talked to Grace in the process of becoming ordained, we literally asked her this question, like, what have you had to put down and what have you had to take up in order to answer this call? So the fishermen sort of letting their nets down is just very visual of like, what's in my net?
Yeah, sure.
Like
what are you releasing?
to go deeper.
Yeah.
To answer a call, whatever it is, it doesn't have to be to become, put on a collar and a stole and become an ordained clergy person, but whatever the call, what do I have to let go of to be able to give a little bit more of myself to God. So I think there's really this dance here between like, you got to give a little to get, right? And in order to get that catch, they had to go a little further distance than maybe they wanted to. Because as you just said, they weren't very good fishermen on their own.
Right.
On their own, they weren't achieving very much. And often, you know, as pastors, as people of God, sometimes we forget to invite God to what we're doing.
That's a great point. That's a great point.
We forget to wait. I have to give something here. I have to let down, and I have to ask for God's presence and do what Jesus says to do.
Right.
So, what about you, Dave? What is this jump out to you in that going deeper?
Well, I think one of the ideas again is, like you said, you know, don't be afraid. That was a really big thing.
That's my favorite line.
Don't be afraid.
Don't be afraid.
That, I think, just hearing Jesus speak those words to us, wherever we don't have to be fishing, whatever we are doing, you know, to hear those words, don't be afraid, I think is great. We read in this that, you know, that famous line, I will make you a fisher of people.
Right.
And, you know, back in the day, that used to mean something kind of different, I think. That, you know, for me, that took on a kind of this feeling of evangelism, and you had to pressure people to come to church, and you're going to go fish for people and bring them into church. And that was kind of, it's a little problematic, a lot of pressure there. But when you look a little deeper into those words, it says, I will teach you to catch people, is actually the word there. And that word catch or capture, I was listening to a friend of mine the other day, and he said another definition of that word is to enthrall.
Oh, I like
You know how we're enthralled by beauty or music. So you will catch or capture or enthrall people, not just for your own purposes or for evangelism purposes. So you'll be able to introduce them to that love of God that Jesus talks so much about. You'll be able to introduce them to this idea of another definition of that word says this, I love this, that the act of capturing or taking something alive conveys the idea of not just capturing it for destruction, like the fish that they were fishing for, those fish were captured for destruction, right? They were going to be eaten.
Dinner.
Right? But this idea of capturing to enthrall has this idea of being captured for preservation and continued life. So how do we invite people, capture them, enthrall them for the abundant life? I think that's probably the thing that really jumped out at me. And the other thing, I guess two more things, and then I'll throw it back to you. One was they'd been fishing all night, and I think you had tapped into this.
Yep.
But because you say so,
yeah,
you've asked us to go and do this. Because you say so, we're going to go ahead and let down our nets, even though we haven't caught a thing. It reminds me a lot of that passage one chapter later when Jesus says, you know, why do you call me Lord and not do what I say? Jesus is saying, let down your nets. Here's some instructions. I want to give you another chance. I want to give you a second chance at catching your fish, at doing your job. Whatever it is, Jesus wants to give us a second chance, which I think is kind of powerful.
Well, and that dips back into when Peter says, but I'm a sinful man. And Jesus doesn't even comment on that. He just says, like, just get in the boat. Just like do the work.
That's right.
You don't need a special degree. You don't need a special skill set. You don't even need to be that good at your current job.
Right.
Apparently.
Right.
Just, I've called you, do it.
That's right.
Right. And so I love that because the depth is really not just physically in the boat, but within yourself. Like
that's right.
That self-doubt.
That's right.
That can really hold us back from going deeper, going the next level.
One of the things we want to do before we wrap up here is give a big shout out and thank you to the music ministries at our church that work tirelessly to bring us great music each and every Sunday. We are lucky enough to be able to give them the day off today, but a virtual worship service wouldn't be the same without some music. So in the comments below, we're going to put a couple links to some songs. I picked one by a guy named Michael Card, who back in the 90s, I think, early 90s, late 80s, had an album called The Way of Wisdom. And he wrote a song based on the Song of Songs, the Song of Solomon. And so there's a link to that song right there. And you picked out one as well.
And I picked out one that actually we were going to use in worship today, which is a bluegrass tune. And it is not the classic Sunday school Fishers of Men that many of you probably know, but it is a rewriting. The lyrics are a rewriting of this gospel story. And sometimes it's called Fishers of Men. Other times it's listed as Rise and Follow. And it's written by a fabulous award-winning bluegrass artist, Becky Bueller, sung by Rhonda Vincent, two great bluegrass artists. But it's really, the chorus is, rise and follow me and I'll make you worthy. And I think that really encapsulates what we've been talking about. It's like, you're already worthy to do it. Just get up and go.
That's great.
And do the work. So
that's great. So those links will be in the comments below or somewhere. We'll make them easy for you to find. We haven't uploaded this. This is for your information. We are in Saturday afternoon mode right now. We haven't had the storm yet. We don't know how bad it's going to be or how not bad it's going to be. It may be a flop. But this is here for you because both of our churches will be closed tomorrow morning. Closing words of benediction. Do you have any closing thoughts to leave for your thoughts for your folks?
I think I'm going to read these lyrics.
Oh, great. Go ahead.
All right. So the lyrics from this, one of the hymns that we just dropped in the comments here is, Peter, John, and James could never be the same after they heard him say, I'll make you fishers of men. So cast your nets aside and join the battle tide. He'll be your guide. Rise and follow me. I'll make you worthy to be fishers of men.
That's great. That's good. I am going to leave you with these words. Stay safe, stay warm, and stay dry. That reminds me of a great book that comes to us. Jeanette and I share a background in Methodism. And there's a great book, if you're looking for a great book to read, called 3 Simple Rules. And the 3 simple rules are this: do good, do no harm, and stay in love with God. Yeah. And what a great way to end this with Valentine's Day on Friday and the Song of Songs. Stay in love with God. I will add a 4th simple rule: stay in love with each other. Love your neighbor, do unto others, and we wish you a safe Sunday. I'm not sure who you're rooting for the Super Bowl later on, but may your team win, I guess. I don't know. Anything else?
That's it. Go in peace.
Go in peace. Thanks for being with us. Take care. We'll see you next week at Essex Congregational Church in Essex.
And Westbrook Congregational Church in Westbrook.
Have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye.